It is 12:34. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mari Mukwanda. So the emotional effects that terrorization has on learners, that is our discussion for today. I'm sure many of you have been seeing videos, or rather a video circulating around a teenage girl who was beating up another teenage girl while others were recording the incidents and laughing about it. And unfortunately, due to that, the teenage girl who was the victim committed suicide. Now, 9 murders have been committed as a result of bullying in schools between 2019 and 2020, as per the latest crime statistics that was taken last year. Now, this is more than the number of murders that are committed in prisons as a result of prison fighting. More students, more learners are murdered as a result of bullying than prisoners are killed as a result of prison murders. Of course, the numbers could be more, as these are just statistics that were received from the crime stats of last year. And we're not going to get into those numbers at the moment, but we do want to find out more about what happens in the mind of a bully. Joining me on the line is Cayley Jorgensen, who is a registered counselor with the Health Professionals Council of South Africa. She is also the co-founder of Face Up South Africa, an anonymous reporting system that is currently used in schools and companies across the country. Face Up focuses on creating awareness and educating parents, teachers, and students on the mental health pressures of today's world, as well as creating and distributing resources. Kaylee has published numerous articles on bullying, cyberbullying, mental health, as well as child sexual abuse, and she has worked in the field of mental health and psychology for the past 7 years. Kaylee, good day, and thank you for joining me.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I think it's such an important topic.
Yes, definitely, especially because I'm seeing it as a growing trend, amongst teenagers. Teenagers are terrorizing one another, teenagers are bullying one another, and in turn, that's causing a lot more murders and suicides amongst the victims. So, why is this such a trend? Why is it a growing trend, in fact?
So, I mean, if we just look at the statistics alone, you've got 84% of teenagers who say they know somebody who has been bullied, whether it's themselves or a friend. So it is huge. I mean, just after lockdown, everybody's at home. Now you're doing online schooling, um, playing games. The only way to socialize with your friends is online. So we really did see that the bullying, the prevalence of bullying, both from a cyberbullying perspective, increased hugely. Physical bullying is still around, and as you know, that's what happened with that learner. But I mean, just with regards to suicide, it's huge. It's the second leading cause of death for children aged
Mhm.
15 years and older. I mean, you've got 23% of kids who are struggling. So we've done a lot of school talks, and the self harm rates are increasing kind of left, right, and center. And the problem is kids don't have that platform. They don't have that. Um, they're so scared to report because what if
Mhm.
I'm going to be judged? If I do report that I'm being bullied, well, what if the bully now starts bullying me? So it's this constant fear of what are my parents going to say? What's this going to happen? What's that going to happen? So it's a scary time for our kids and our
Mhm.
teenagers.
Definitely. Now, what goes on in the mind of a bully?
So there's lots of things. I mean, a bully can, for example, so there's lots of different reasons why somebody starts to bully. It could be that, they're reinforcing what they're seeing online, or they are a bully themselves. Maybe they're being abused or neglected at home. Potentially that they are looking for revenge, they're acting out, low academic pressure, or you know they're looking for that attention because of somewhere else in their life that's happening. And these are just some of the reasons, and obviously it's not going to be every single person that bullies is struggling with these situations. It's not, everybody's unique. But to understand, a person may bully also because they're struggling with mental health, whether they're struggling with depression or anxiety, or aggression, for example. But what we do see most of the time is that it is an outlet. A bully is
Mm-hmm.
looking for that control as well. And often, what we've seen, especially with social media, I mean, we can relate this so hugely with what happened with the Limpopo situation, but a
Mm-hmm.
bystander is so quick to become a bully. I mean, how
Mm-hmm.
many people, took videos of that learner
Yeah.
being physically bullied and posted it to social media? So the question then is, well, are you then a bystander or are you now the bully? Because you are taking that video and you publishing it, you giving it to a wider audience, and you now,
Mm-hmm.
increasing the number of eyes that are viewing this bullying situation. So it all plays a huge role. So now you've got bystanders who are feeling guilty, who are scared, who are feeling uncertain, what should they do? And the easiest way is to take a video or to share it or to tag somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of bullying that, you know, every situation is so different. And if we look at the situation that happened a few days ago, anybody, that reshared that or posted that or is now bullying the perpetrator, we've got to ask ourselves the question, what is happening? Are we supporting our teenagers enough
Mm-hmm.
in this? So it's
Oh.
a difficult situation to be in. But in order to understand what's happening from the bully's perspective and in the bully's mind, there's so much. And I think we need to actually sit down from a community perspective and understand, okay, where is this happening? But is it a bully or is it a bystander that's acting out and now has become a bully as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I also have a problem with bystanders just standing by, watching a video and recording
Mm.
everything and sharing it to social media platforms, making the problem even bigger than what it was. This, in fact, led to the pupil's suicide because she felt like all of these people have now seen her. And she felt ashamed and she did not know what to do and resorted to suicide instead. What effects does bullying have on a victim and the bully themselves?
So, if we look at the victim specifically, after a bullying incident, and when I'm talking about bullying, talking about social, emotional, physical, cyber, all
Mm-hmm.
of it together. But we a, a victim can very much go from feeling scared, humiliated, embarrassed, and it could lead them to just to struggle with depression. Um, Suicide ideation could lead to substance abuse, struggle sleeping, so insomnia, withdrawing from activities, social engagements, friends, and that's just a few eating disorders. So there's a lot of things on how a victim can be impacted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Something to note though as well is if a just noticing the signs. If somebody is being cyberbullied, what you'll usually find is they become very jumpy and nervous when they go on their phone, or they withdraw completely. So we do need to understand the signs as well that link very much to the effects. In terms of the bully as well, bullying somebody else, they could be doing it as revenge and all those situations that we spoke about earlier. But it could lead them to struggle with mental health. So it could lead them to struggle with depression or anxiety, trauma, eating, sleeping, substance use. And we often find that kids do turn to substances to mask what they're feeling inside, but also self harm. So, self harm,
Mm-hmm.
the way that I like to see it is it's the pain that you can see, it's the way of getting those emotions out and just releasing all of that. So, often you'll see that whether it's a victim or a bully or even a bystander, they likely engage in self harm. Not to say that everybody will, but it is one of those factors that we need to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Now, what can we do? What can parents do, teachers do, the school governing body, as well as the community? Because we have to have a better way to address this issue. And if a child is being bullied at home, they need to be removed from that situation so that they cannot become a bully themselves, and then it's a continuous cycle.
Definitely. So, I mean, we just need to understand. So, if we look at, from parents and teachers, it's bullying hasn't changed over the last 10
Mhm.
years. The number of bullying cases, it may have increased, but it's a problem we were facing 10, 20 years ago. The
Yeah.
difference is now on cyberbullying, for example, the platform has changed. It's no longer where teachers can see it. So you're no longer sitting in a classroom, somebody writes a letter, they pass that letter on, and then, the teacher intercepts it, tears it up, and throws it in the dustbin. That's what used to happen. But now what
Mm.
happens is messages are constantly put on WhatsApp groups, shared on TikTok or Instagram or Roblox or, whatever games and platforms children and teens are using. It's now constantly shared. So it's now to a much larger audience. It's hard to monitor for teachers and parents. And with that note, for example, you could just end it right there, tear the paper up and throw it away. You can't do that on social media because everything
Mhm.
is there. You delete it, you can still find it. So, from a parent's and a teacher's point of view, it's really important just to monitor what's happening with learners. And we can see that in terms of just changes in behavior. So, from a child that used to be really talkative, social, bubbly, now starting to become more reserved, that's something, a light bulb needs to go off. So, we need to then see, okay, what's happening here? Is there something happening? There might not be. The child might just be tired, but we do
Mhm.
need to ask those questions. We need to monitor. We also need to make sure that screen time is monitored from a parent's perspective, because the longer that you are on your phone, for example, the more that I'm on this device, I've got the potential of being bullied.
Yeah.
So we have to monitor it, and there's applications and parental controls in place, but we need to utilize that, and we need to make sure that kids do. If we're just looking at a cyberbullying perspective, we need to know what is happening when kids are on their phones, when they're on their devices, when they want to start a YouTube channel. What is happening? We also need to teach kids. We can't just expect them to take a device and go and do their own social media. It's the same as driving a car. We don't just let a 5-year-old go and drive a car all of a sudden. We teach them literally from when they're
Mhm.
babies. They have to wear a seatbelt. There's road signs. Oh, why are we stopping here? No, the robot's red. So we're teaching those constantly when children are little. When they're 17, then they write their learner's license. Then they do their driver's test. There's a process. It needs to be the same when it comes to social media. We need to engage
Mhm.
in those questions, and around bullying as well. Make it dinner table conversations. What happened at school today? Did you go online and see anything that's uncomfortable? How did you feel when this happened? So we constantly engaging that emotional perspective, but also then modeling. So if
Mhm.
I'm on my phone, I'm not going to say to my child, okay, just hold on, I'm going to send a message. No, I'm going to put my phone away now because of the different things. So I'm modeling that behavior as well. So we
Mhm.
really need to encourage that. But from a school perspective, in terms of bullying, we need to make it clear as to what is okay and what is not okay. Also, what is the difference between being mean, being rude, being ugly, and bullying? Because there is a difference, and we need to educate children and educate parents and teachers as to what is the difference. But
Mhm.
there needs to be consistent protocols in place. If a bullying case happens, how do we handle it? If somebody reports bullying, how do we handle it? If somebody reports suicide, how do we handle it? So there needs to be these constant protocols in place. Um, I was reading a statistic yesterday, and it said that I think it was 23.5% or something along those numbers. And I stand to be corrected, but it was 20 something percent of learners who
Mhm.
struggle with suicide ideation don't report it, because, or no, 20%, 25% only report it to an adult. So that is a cause for concern, because where are the rest of those learners? Why are they not reporting? So there
Mm.
needs to be a safe and trusted platform within the school where that's one of those reporting boxes, or face up, for example, or there's other applications as well. Some schools use QR codes and Google Forms. Others have boxes outside certain teachers' classrooms, but it's making the school a safe environment so learners can come forward and say, I'm not okay, I need
Mhm.
help. And just encouraging them to report, because kids are scared of reporting. I had one learner ask me the other day, if I report, what is going to happen? Are
Mhm.
my parents going to be told? Because often it's things happening at home and they don't want their parents to know what's
Yeah.
happening. But we have to address these conversations. Children also don't know what to do. I got another question, another school talk the other day, but my friend asked me not to say anything. They're suicidal. They've told me they're suicidal, but they're trusting me not to tell anybody else. These are the conversations we have to have with them, because whether it's bullying or suicide or self-harm or depression, we have to get an adult involved. We have to support the learners. We have to support the children, the teenagers, and the teachers as well. But
Mhm.
we also need to tell them that they can't have this to themselves. It's a huge burden and it's a huge responsibility to take on. So we have to encourage that constant communication between children, parents, teachers, and schools as a whole. We need to, be able to have these conversations, because if I know my friend is suicidal, if I know my friend is being bullied to such a point where she's hurting herself, and I keep that to myself, what's going to happen if something does go wrong? And we need to tell learners and create that awareness about, if bullying is happening, if you see bullying happening, how do you handle it? You report it to an adult. You get that help. There's, even if you don't want to report it to somebody that that trusted adult, because that's a big thing, is that trust. So if they don't trust anybody, they're not comfortable to go to anybody face to face, then call a crisis line. SADC, for example, they're
Mhm.
24/7 calling that crisis line and just getting the help. So in any form or any shape, but we have to just create that that awareness of what needs to happen. But we need to also support teachers. This can't be a child and teenage problem, because it's a community problem. We need to
Yes.
educate teachers as well, just in terms of, what are the signs of suicide, what are the signs of bullying, cyberbullying, verbal bullying, emotional bullying, what is the difference, how do we assist? And also just supporting teachers, because it's a huge burden as well. And I very much believe that teachers are the first aid when it comes to mental health. They are the ones that
Mhm.
are constantly with the learners. So we need to support them as well. Sorry, I feel like I've just spoken so much there. I haven't given you a chance.
Yes, and actually, I have a lot to say regarding this topic because I am a mother to a young girl and I have to
Mm.
raise her as well. She will eventually become a teenager and a young woman, and we need to have these conversations with them. The bullying is not okay, and being a victim of bullying, if they have a problem, they need to talk to someone, and parents need to have these open conversations. They need to provide a platform for children to be able to talk to them. I feel like kids are afraid of their parents. They're afraid of telling their parents what's going on because their parents might shout at them or might give them wrong advice and
Yeah.
advice that will make them do something else that they wouldn't necessarily have done. For example, fighting violence with violence and telling me, yeah, when I was your age and I would be beating them up, etc., etc. I mean, we're all different people. Not all of us can be macho and beat each other up and stuff. So we need to address these situations without resorting to violence. And definitely communities and community members, everybody needs to get involved.
I completely agree. I had one learner say to me the other day, no, it's fine if you delete them on Instagram, and if the bullying still exists, you just go find them in school and you do something. I'm like, no, this is not the way to handle it. We don't, two
Mm,
wrongs don't make a right. And we can't, and we need to, I'm very much of the belief that we need to teach learners how to become upstanders when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
bullying, because being a bystander and a witness to the bullying, it's always going to happen. But it's what
Mm-hmm.
you do after that. Are you the person that then records it and posts it? Are you the bully now? Are you the bystander? You completely do nothing, or are you an upstander? I like to call it being an everyday hero. Do you now say, no, this is not okay? Do you take the bully and say, okay, let's do this, let's distract the situation, let's get a teacher or a parent involved? Because it's difficult being an upstander, but at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, we have to. If we don't do
Yeah.
anything, then what are we doing?
Yes, definitely. Kaylee, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, that's all that we have. I would have loved to continue with this conversation, but maybe another time. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye. That was Kaylee Jorgensen taking us through learner terrorization or bullying. Well, we don't want to use the word bullying because it sounds so harsh. So, taking us through the emotional effects terrorization has on learners. And as you heard, that we need to have these conversations. We cannot avoid them, and constant communication needs to be had so that we don't avoid. You cannot avoid something. Rather, you handle it much better. It is 12:56. You're listening to the Mid Morning Talk on Salam Media. We will be right back.